Hey, thanks for pressing play, and welcome as always to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you happen to be listening to this podcast, nothing's changed. It's part of your morning routine. You wake up, you walk the dog, throw in the AirPods, go around the park, put on the Suns Jam Session podcast. Why? Because you want to know what happened last night. But if you're watching this, you might notice that we're a couple hours late. A couple hours later than usual. That's because both Matthew and I were actually down at the Footprint Center, the footy, if you will, covering the game on behalf of Bright Side of the Sun. And what a game it was. The Phoenix Suns win, go to 5-6. Devin Booker's back. Bradley Beal's not. Matthew, so much to talk about, so little time, so late at night. What do we do?
Oh, it's late and great. I'm just excited to be here with a victory, man. The Suns win a game? What's going on? Booker is Jesus. Once they rewrite the Bible, he'll be in there somewhere.
Like in the book of Booker, 36 unbothered. That's what we're going with because it was a great performance, obviously, by both Devin Booker, by Kevin Durant, and it's something that we are going to be talking about on this here edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. So welcome and enjoy. We hope you have a good time. Again, sorry that we're on a little bit late, but we were at the game, and then a victory bourbon with the voice of the Phoenix Suns, John Bloom. We had to go by a local establishment.
Yeah.
You had a bourbon, right? It was what was it, Garrison bourbon, correct?
I said I'll have whatever he has. I'll just drink liquor. I don't care. And it was tasteful. Warmed me up a little bit, and I'm feeling good. So you got a little bit of a buzz Lissy tonight.
And
a little bit.
Little Buzz Lissy action.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is going to be good. Well, I had an Oban 14, so if you guys know that's a fine Scotch. So we're going to talk about the Suns. I'm going to actually crack open a beer, Matthew, because why not?
Do it. I wish I had one.
When you wish upon a star. Suns win 133-115. A victory over a team in the Minnesota Timberwolves that have just won 7 in a row. White hot, although be it on a back-to-back, coming into downtown Phoenix, taking on the Phoenix Suns. And they didn't have Bradley Beal, which of course brings me to my first question.
Oi, Matty. Mate, I've got to ask.
I've got to ask.
Yes.
Bradley Beal, 60 minutes before the game, it's announced that Bradley Beal will not be playing in this game. Every sign pointed to that this would be the debut of the Phoenix Suns Big Three, that we would finally see this team come to fruition. But ultimately, it did not occur. 36 unbothered, but are you bothered or worried about number 3, Bradley Beal?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually shocked that he was going to play this game. The way he looked last game, just hobbled, bothered, walking around like an old man. I was like, there's no way he's playing next game. But we're like, hey, the Big Three are going to be together tonight. I was shocked to hear that. But I was even more shocked to hear 60 minutes before, when we're waiting for him to come out for warm-ups, that he's going to miss it. I was like, that is a late scratch. It's definitely bothersome. I think the back is just one thing that's going to linger all season. I'll just say it. I mean, I just think it's going to. It's one of those things where we're going to have to watch it all year long. I hope he gets healthy quick, but it's something that's a bummer, right? I mean, you want these three to play together. The way KD's been playing and how he's just been playing every game healthy. Booker's back, looked dominant, like I said earlier, like Jesus. But now you have Beal to worry about. And Beal is just basically, like I say all the time, like the cherry on the sundae with this team. He's definitely the guy that's going to carry us to those 30-point, 40-point victories, because you can't guard all three of those guys. With the way Book looked tonight, and you just imagine Beal on this team, you just want to see it. But I don't know how long we have to wait. Maybe next game. Maybe Utah he plays. But it's every other game. Every game after that, you're like, is he going to be scratched? How's his back? It's going to be a thing. And we just got to get used to it, I think, right?
it's not just going to be a thing. It's already a thing, unfortunately, that Bradley Beal comes to Phoenix, and he's played in 3 games, and the Suns are 1-2 in those games. Devin Booker tonight obviously played. The Suns are 2-1 in games that he's played. So we've had 3 games of Beal and 3 games of Booker yet to overlap. And I think that's the challenge that we as Suns fans are facing, is they have not taken the court at the same time. And it's, again, we say 36 unbothered, and I think I've said this before, but it is bothersome just because you want to see it. It's like Christmas Eve, and you just want to wake up so bad to get your presents and to open them and see what kind of fun toys that your parents got you. I mean, Santa got you, and ultimately you unwrap disappointment. But at the same time, you have to understand that when it comes to back spasms, which is a hard word to rhyme, but credit to John Bloom over a bourbon tonight, said back orgasms. That rhymes with back spasms. Are we allowed to say that? So shout out to Bloom. No, he just said don't use his actual audio, but he wanted credit for back orgasms, backgasms, if you will. It's something that you're going to have to. What, you don't like that?
No, I like it. I'm scared to use anybody's name on this pod.
Hey, he said to say it. I'm just carrying out the wishes of the voice of the Phoenix Suns.
All right.
For Christ's sakes. But when you're dealing with those lower back issues, this is going to happen. Tightness. You mentioned it, Matthew. The fact that he played through last game was impressive because he was clearly in pain. You take a look at Bradley Beal, his first game back against the Lakers. The first half, he looked fantastic. But at the back end of that first half, he took a pretty nasty fall, stretched out, was really kind of, you could see it was perplexing him. Played poor in that second half, had an average game in game 2, and had an average game in game 3. He's clearly hurt. And is it unfortunate? Yes. Do we wish that he was back? Yes. But as El Sol says in the chat, BB3 needs to be 100% before he comes back. And that's what we need to focus on just as a franchise and a fan base. Like, we are 11 games into the season. The sky isn't falling. Is it going to be a thing all year? Absolutely. And one thing that we were talking about tonight is I think that when he does get healthy again, that you start to ease him back in by bringing him off the bench. Have him fill the Eric Gordon role and let Eric Gordon continue to play as a starter, because starter Eric Gordon is a productive Eric Gordon.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I don't agree with. The 100% BB3 needs to be 100% before he comes back. I don't think he's going to be 100% all year. I think this is just something that's going to linger. I mean, unless they find the cause and they can actually rest him maybe a full, maybe a couple weeks. But with the Suns' record the way it is right now, I just don't think you can actually do that. The other thing I kind of disagree with is coming off the bench. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. I'm just like, that would kind of be an ego shot to him. I know, like, you come in 20, 24 minutes, but that's not going to really solve, I think, the back issue. The way that Beal plays is he plays high energy. He's going to be a high flyer there towards the rim, trying to make plays near the rim, and just like the last few games before he was out this last game, he was trying to make those plays and landing on his back a few games ago. That's just the way he is, and it's going to be hard to tame that. I don't know if he comes off the bench or starts, you're still going to see that, right? You're still going to see him in there making plays, ending up on the floor, and that's the part that sucks, is because I feel like Booker's the same way. He's going to draw contact stuff, but him and KD, I'm not too worried about being injured now. The way Book looked tonight looked really, really good, but also the way that Beal is, he just needs to be that starting position. He's a 2 guard. And I think coming here to Phoenix, I think it's just a thing where he still wants to be known. He still wants to be an all-star. So he has to get healthy. But the thing is, Jamsters, I don't know if it's going to be a thing anytime soon, maybe till next year. And I'm not trying to be too negative. I'm just saying it's going to be a thing because the lower back is just a big issue. I think it's going to linger for sure.
Well, and I'll say it's not about who you start with, it's about who you finish. And that's what should matter to Bradley Beal. And I think that that's something that he's accepted coming here, knowing he's going to be the third wheel in the relationship, right? It is 36 unbothered. It is Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. It's Devin and Kevin on this team. And he's the guy who just wants to come in here and just have fun playing basketball. And right now he can't play basketball because of his back, and it sucks. I hate Janston in the chat says, as someone with lower back pain, it's a tricky thing to have, and it will be something that will always be there. I can empathize with Brad. I can too. I have sciatic nerve issues that I live with every day because I'm fat. And I have herniated disc in my L5S1, you know? So it's like lower back stuff sucks. And it's unfortunate that we were robbed of the big three tonight, but we did get back one Devin Armani fucking Booker.
Big Dick Booker.
BDB was out there once again playing for the Phoenix Suns, and in only 26 minutes played, Matthew, he ended up going 12 of 22 from the field, including 2 of 7 from beyond the arc, had 31 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers. How great was it to see Devin Booker back out there on the court? And I might note before I hand it off to you, my friend, that he had the jersey on, and then he had like a cutoff black shirt underneath the jersey. It was one of the coolest looks I've ever seen a fucking player wear with the black headband. Like, not only is he a badass, but he like even like I love you, Devin Booker.
Yeah, post-game interviews, him and Katie talk about how he has beef with everybody in this league, right?
Yes.
Because he talks about his someone asked, and I forget the name, I do apologize, asked a question about, playing against Towns, does that just get a little bit more of a fire in your belly? No, he just has beef with everybody. He's going to play like that. And dude, this game looks so different compared to anything we've seen all year. The spacing, you could probably throw it up to a little bit of Minnesota being a little tired from the back-to-back. Maybe this wasn't the real Ant, I don't feel like, but the way Book came out and the spacing that he has in between him and his defender and what he can do to create, it's just insane. There was a one play in the third quarter where he came out, brought the ball down, first possession, it just looked like Nurk had a great shot at the three, but passed it up, gave it back to Book. Then he swings it back around, runs to the other side of the court, and he hits Gordon wide open for a three. Or a Aogi. It's just the way he just can change this game. It's MVP worthy. I think you talked about maybe even writing an article about that because it's totally true. Yeah. This team is just drastically different with Booker. The spacing, what he can do to help KD out, what he can do to get everybody involved. Our point guard situation to start with is solved. Backup point guard, no. We'll figure that out later, maybe. But just with Booker just changing the momentum of the game, making sure that we continue to push a lead up, he brings it every game. And I think that tonight's game, the amount of points he had in the limited minutes, it's just insane. Every look he had, even the missed ones, looked great. To have him on the court, you feel so comfortable with him bringing the ball up. And the best part, I think, is even in the fourth. When he starts the fourth quarter, he brings it up slowly, wants to waste some time. And sometimes you're like, oh, come on. Like you're just watching the clock. Because we're all worried about the fourth quarter and how we just, we cannot give up this lead again, right? We can't falter again in the fourth. And you're like, you're wasting time. You're not getting good looks. No. Every time he had the ball, bringing it up, he would get a good look or he would find a teammate. He would basically make sure that the clock was down to like maybe 5 or 6 seconds and they would still have a good shot. I don't know. It just seemed like a different Book, even better Booker than before. I don't know what it is. I just said what it was, but I'm just saying like he just went up another level already in just one game, I feel like.
Well, and I said it at the beginning of the season after watching him in the preseason and then obviously his first game that Devin Booker has leveled up. And the confidence that you have in watching him play the sport of basketball is at an all-time high. And I can't tell you how many times you and I are sitting there in media row watching him play, and he'll just put together a great play, and I'll just kind of give you a look out of my side eye. I'm like, this motherfucker, like he is so good at basketball. I love what John Does 69 says in the chat. Great name, by the way. John Does 69 says that cut sleeve shirt definitely had like a motorbike or a wolf graphic on it.
I didn't even notice it.
Oh man, go back and look at the pictures, man. Yeah, he's on a different level, but you're 100% right. So many people, there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, with the recent woes of the Phoenix Suns, especially in the fourth quarter, about, well, if you bring Booker back, does he solve the issues that you have? The inefficiencies, the lack of offensive continuity, the lack of ability, or the pure isolation basketball, and on the defense and the turnovers and on the defensive end. And we saw a lot of that tonight. When Devin Booker started this game right off the bat, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, we don't have a quote unquote traditional point guard, but what Devin Booker brings is a calmness, a basketball intellect, and a comfortability with this offense to run it effectively. And it was funny in the post-game conference, both Devin Booker and Kevin Durant came out and fielded questions from the media together. And, Kevin Durant kind of jokingly was like, hey, we got our point guard back. Then asked a little bit later, like Booker, they're like, well, what do you think about being called the point guard? And he was sitting there, just kind of like, I'm not the point guard. He's like, I just, I'm a conduit in between players. I'm from one guy to another. So I'm just passing it off to another player. But you saw it with his aggressiveness. You saw it with his wit, if you will, on the court, and his ability to just get to his spots. And like you said, elevate over players and score literally at will. He's just, you mentioned it a little bit, but MVP style. I will be putting together a piece that you can read on brightsideofthesun.com tomorrow. So if you don't read, stop by the site. There's a lot of great content that both myself and Matthew and our other writing team put together about your Phoenix Suns, the team that you clearly care about if you're listening to this shit. But his absence for 7 games, coupled with his production in the 3 games he's played, has him on an MVP level type conversation. Obviously, very, very small sample size of 3 games, but averaging over 30 points, getting at least 5 assists in every game. And seeing how the team performs when he's not present, that can sometimes speak volumes. And what he's doing right now at the level he's doing it is MVP level, man.
Yeah, it's there. The conversation's there. I think it was before the season, but you can see how good he is with even, with Beal out and then Kevin Durant just playing the way he is. But even when Kevin Durant's playing without Book, it's a different game. But Blaze Megatron says Booker attacked all their best defenders with no fear. It's insane, like how much spacing he has between 3 defenders. He can be triple team going up for a jump shot. He gets it up just like KD does. And you mentioned that before in another pod where he learned a lot from KD, from getting that spacing and taking his time. That's just such a huge thing because he doesn't, before he used to kind of go too far into the paint or, like, oh, you went maybe 1-2 steps too far. He doesn't do that anymore, man. He really does find his spots for sure, but he makes sure that the offense continues to flow too.
Yes.
And it's bullshit. He's our point guard, dude. When he brings the ball, I'm like, that's our point guard. And plus the Nuggets team, if they don't have Jokic, they don't win, right? It's the same thing with Book. If we don't have Book, we're not going to win shit. I don't care if Beal's 100% and KD's 100%. This team's not going to win anything. I'm just talking about going on a 2-game win streak without Booker in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, when Beal's out there, we've noted it on previous podcasts, it's more of a frenetic type of offense. He's definitely a 2 guard who is an elite scorer. Elite. But from a playmaking standpoint, he doesn't necessarily possess that same acumen that Devin Booker does. So it's great to have him back. And he plays at 1 speed. That's big dick speed, man. Like, he is so intense all the time. That's why Frank Vogel's had to pull him back, because I know 2 games ago when it was against the Lakers, I was there watching him do his pregame shoot around. I'm like, dude, he can go right now. Like, he's moving around. He's hustling. He's sprinting. He's shooting. And I think that Frank Vogel's like, I got to hold this dog back, because if I don't, he's going to go 100% all the time and he could hurt himself further. So that's why he continued to hold him back for as long as he did. Saltiest Gaming in the chat says, reading is overrated. If reading is overrated, then what is writing?
Who the heck are you?
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
Did anybody see a sniper? Did anybody see anything?
I'm one of the best players to ever play the game.
This is my typical fanboy moment. I love Kevin Durant so much. Just watching him during shoot around and seeing him, just the way that he approaches the game and the way that he executes. It's so awesome having him on the team. A very, very efficient night for him. Only 15 shots taken, and he was 11 of 15. He hit both of his 3-point shots. He hit all of his 7 free throws. Ended up having 31 total points, much akin to Devin Booker. They combined for 62 points tonight. Had 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and only 2 turnovers. Did have 1 block as well, 1 monumental block on Rudy Gobert. And I will note that those 2 turnovers did happen in the 4th quarter, right when he checked back in with about the 8-minute mark. 2 consecutive turnovers when the Minnesota Timberwolves began the quarter on a 15-5 run, and we were both all just like, oh, shit, here we go again. But Kevin Durant tonight, efficient, playing some defense, looked again just fantastic, and it's great to see him be that efficient And that's a precursor. Again, we just had that long conversation about Bradley Beal being out. But when Bradley Beal is someday healthy and knowing that Devin Booker is out there, Kevin Durant can continue to just operate in his space and do so at an elite level because he's Kevin Durant. He is. He's best.
Yeah, and I
one of the
love
best
how he
players
takes
to ever play.
I love how he takes a back seat to Book too. Like he's just basically in the other press conferences. He's just like, we gotta wait till Book's back. Like
He was on his phone the whole time. He was like tweeting shit out probably.
Oh yeah. No, I think he like looks at the scorecard. That's what he does when he's like looking down at the table. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, he had his phone out.
Did he have his phone out?
Yeah, check my
right.
pictures.
He doesn't care. He's go with the flow guy. He's go with the flow KD. But in this game, I feel like he got like a kind of silent 7 points in the first quarter. But he did a good job of when Book's off the floor, kind of taking responsibility. Unless, when he turned the ball over, like he said, to start the fourth quarter, that was kind of like, oh, okay, can we get Book back in the game? But KD knows his role on this team, right? He's second to Book, and I think he just knows how much better this team is with him. Doesn't mean like when Book's out, he's not going to give it his all. He's going to definitely be KD, but we just know the difference of like the old KD and this KD. KD can't really make those shots sometimes in the fourth to really seal a game or extend a lead. That's Booker's job now. KD is a guy that's going to search out McDaniels, though, right? Jaden McDaniels, one of the best defenders in the league.
Yes.
He's going to make sure he knows that he's KD still and hit jump shots over him all game long. He searched him out, made sure to make him look foolish. As the subreddit Stakeout, they'll say it in there too.
Oh, I can't wait.
They could not miss shots. The Suns couldn't miss shots tonight, but it's because of spacing. Kevin Durant doesn't want spacing. There's a few wide open shots, but he backs that bony butt up into anybody, dude. Can you imagine how bony his butt is, dude?
Oh yeah, like right in your thigh.
Chest. Yeah, but like the guys that defend him, it's like right in your chest. So that must hurt like hell. I just thought about that all night. But yeah, KD's really good, man. And to see him and Book at the podium, just great. Best friends, right?
Yeah, that was. It's always great to see that when KD and Book walk in the press conference room and you're just like, dude, life doesn't suck right now. Even in a loss, it doesn't suck. Jack M, incredible how a top 5 all-time guy is happy to take a backup role behind Booker. What a man. I agree with that because he knows that Devin Booker is in his prime right now, and all he needs to do is just, it's like, you ever gone bike riding? Like aggressive bike riding, whatever it's called. The people with the helmets, like they draft behind people. They get low and they like draft behind. I've never done it, but I've seen it. That's what he's doing right now. He's like, I can just get behind Book and draft, man, because this guy is a beast, and I can be a beast as well. One thing that I did notice tonight, and it's a change, is the substitution patterns that Frank Vogel had for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, for the most part, has been playing the entire 12 minutes of the first quarter. Sits out the first, in hopefully 5 minutes of the second, but because the Suns will suck, he has to come back with like 3 minutes. And that same substitution pattern kind of happens in the third going into the fourth. Tonight, they pulled him with, I think, 3 or 4 minutes left in that first quarter because Devin Booker was there. And even with Bradley Beal, when Bradley Beal played in those 3 games, that substitution pattern did not occur. It was still 12 minutes of Devin Booker, knowing that Bradley Beal was on a minutes restriction and knowing that probably Devin Booker was tonight too. I mean, 26 minutes played ultimately for Devin Booker. But the way that Frank Vogel, because of the skill set that Booker possesses, can substitute Kevin Durant a little bit more and get him a little bit more rest is something that I noticed. And I think that the Suns stepped up in the times in which he was off. Although I will say that first time, that like small snippet where he was out at the end of the first quarter, the Suns were a -7, I want to say. I think I wrote that in the article. I was just like, oh man, -7. Like, can we just have a positive minutes when Kevin Durant's on the bench? For the love of Christ Almighty, for the love of Oban 14 Scotch.
Delicious stuff. I didn't even get a sip from it. You didn't even offer me a sip, man.
Had your bourbon, man. You and Bloom are just sitting there drinking bourbons because that's the cool thing to do. If it was 1975, you'd have cigarettes lit in a low lit bar outside of the.
I miss smoking cigarettes.
I do too.
I would have a deeper, nastier voice, guys. I would have a real radio voice if I had to smoke some cigarettes.
Yeah, but let me tell you here, guys.
Big Crank Eubanks.
Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now what?
I'm telling you, man, Big Crank Eubanks again tonight was just unfucking believable. 20 minutes played. Okay, you have Nurkic. Had 24 minutes played. Eubanks, 20 minutes played, 6 of 9 from the field, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And he He hit a three.
He
One of one
did.
from beyond the arc. Drew Eubanks hit a three-pointer tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Jamsters of all ages. We saw a Drew Eubanks 3 live and in person. And that jam that he had over Karl Anthony Towns, if you go back and you watch that, look at Karl Anthony Towns' face. It's like this. I want that shit on a shirt, man. I want that on a
Oh
shirt.
yeah, it was a Mari dunk, right?
Yes,
He didn't even touch the rim. He just threw it in.
It was Amari-esque.
This guy doesn't care who's on him. He doesn't care, his momentum towards the rim. Like he just has it all, really. He has a lot of the moves down in the post. Give him some time. Like he takes his time, right? Like I think sometimes we might freak out because he has the ball in the paint. It's like, oh shit, what's he gonna do? But now I think when he does take his time, we all kind of trust what he's gonna do because he has some moves down there to get the pump fakes. The guy like Rudy Gobert, even when he played against Chet, who are lanky guys, kind of a little bit slower. I know Rudy Gobert, his defense is insurmountable, right? Yeah, I guess. I just never know what they're talking about with his defense. I understand it, but whatever. But I just love the fact
He's
that
a great advanced stats metric defender, right? He is. He's the king of it. Like, give him the LeBron crown.
Him and DeAndre Ayton, they definitely are.
They're so good.
But I think he can take advantage of those guys. He talked about it last game. Like, you give him the more minutes than Nurkic in a game like this, he'll take advantage of it. This is why I kind of brought up earlier in the season where I thought Eubanks had a chance to be our starter because his IQ is huge. But Nurkic, I think his passing and him being the connector with that first team is really big. But Eubanks, he knows what to do on the pass, on the pick and roll. He's ready for it, and he's ready to actually make quick decisions. A few times tonight when he didn't make the quick decision, it hurt him. And I'm not used to seeing that from Eubanks, right? That's kind of more like a jock thing or a DeAndre Ayton thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that he knows exactly what to do with the ball in any kind of situation down there in the paint. But I just, the thing is with Eubanks, he brings a lot more than just, the quick little moves and the dunks. I think his spacing's great. I think he knows exactly how to interact with anybody that's on the floor. Like any kind of like situation he's in with anybody, he's on any kind of rotation, he knows how to play. It's been so quick. It's only 11 games. I think he's really found his way here in Phoenix. He's one of those guys where it's like he's quickly replacing like Aogi as like my favorite son right now. Just because he, Aogi just does a few things that kind of drive me nuts. He doesn't really, sometimes he shows like a lack of confidence in shooting the ball or something. I just, after the fact that he misses it like a free throw, I don't like that. Eubanks stays confident the whole game. He wants the ball more. He wants to make sure that they know that he can play that backup center on this team, but play an extended time. Like he can play more minutes than Nurkic. I love that, man. I think he's still starting Nurkic, of course. But to have Eubanks come off the bench is just huge. He's better than Bismack and Jock last year, which is combined, a big plus. You got to have those centers.
He's combined. He's what Jock and Busy were last year. And we always said, if you can combine that into one player as a backup big behind DeAndre Ayton, man, you got something. But one guy was really good at defense and one guy was decent at offense. Whereas Drew Eubanks does winning play type stuff on both ends of the floor. And I know that Blaze Megatron said earlier in the chat, and one of our elite jamsters, again, if you want to become an elite jamster, hit that join button down below. Someday we'll release elite content. Writing is way more overrated than reading is. That's true. I spent way too much time writing, and none of you fuckers read it. And that's okay, because it's my outlet. It's like my therapy. It's how I put things out into the universe. But I wrote a piece at the beginning of the year saying, Suns fans, get ready, because you're going to love fucking Drew Eubanks. And that's what's happening, is there's a love for Drew Eubanks that's occurring because of the way that he operates on the court, that he has that connectivity. And he's a guy who already has chemistry with a lot of players on the team. He's got solid hands. He's got some of the best hands. I mean,
he does. He doesn't fumble the ball at all.
He doesn't fumble. Then that's what
Never
makes
brings
him great.
It down. As soon as his chest high, he brings it straight up.
He goes it right up, and he's aggressive with it. And it was funny again in the post-game press conference. Somebody asked Kevin Durant, how did they feel about Drew Eubanks and how he's navigating the space? This is new for him. And Katie's like, you've been watching Eubanks his whole career? Because this has been happening his entire career. When he gets that ball in his hand and he palms it, that thing's going in. He's got massive hands and he grabs the ball. So if you make the perfect player, it's like you take DeAndre Ayton's physical ability, you add like Drew Eubanks' hands, and then like the IQ of Devin Booker or something, I don't know, and you put him into a player like that's a highly effective center. And Eubanks, here's what's interesting about Eubanks, right? Tonight, 13 total points, 6 of 9 from the field, all in the second quarter. He was 6 of 8 in the second quarter. That was it. Came in, had a highly impactful second quarter. The team scored 41 points. Why? Because Drew Eubanks was in there mopping shit up and scoring at a high clip, a highly efficient clip. And that's what you need. You need players like Drew Eubanks to come in off the bench, players like Josh Aogi, who we'll talk about momentarily. But you need these guys to come in off the bench and provide you with effective minutes in which they're scoring the ball, because that's what releases pressure from Kevin Durant, from Devin Booker. And if they can do so on the defensive end as well, it's a double bonus. And that's what Eubanks gives you, man.
Yeah, he's the best.
Shout out to Biscuits in the Bear. Biscuits in the Bear made a savvy commitment at the front end of the season. Every time the Phoenix Suns win, whatever the margin of victory is, they would donate to the podcast in the super chat. $18. Biscuits in the Bear said, "Woke up in time, LOL." Appreciate that. And again, truly appreciate everyone who watches or listens to this podcast at any point. Thank you for supporting us and what we do. It's so much fun to just talk about the Phoenix Suns, and the fact that people want to hear us talk about it is pretty awesome, Matthew.
Hey, Joe. Where you going with that? Gotta go.
It finally happened. Josh Aogi had a positive offensive night tonight, coming in off the bench. And we'll talk about kind of the rotations here momentarily, but coming in off the bench, 19 minutes played. He was 4 of 5 from the field, had 12 points. He was 3 of 3 from downtown. He had a total of 4 made 3-pointers in 10 games prior to tonight. He hit 3 of them. Only 0 rebounds for Aogi, 1 assist. So taking a look at Josh, I'll ask you this. 1, how nice was it to see him to have a positive impact on the offensive end? And 2, why do you think that Frank Vogel started both Allen and Eric Gordon instead of Josh Aogi and or Keita Bates-Diop in this game?
Well, I think they said that defensively, the way the Wolves actually play, like they kind of wanted to match that with the speed and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I really think that a lot of it is kind of getting Eric Gordon back on track, because like we talked before, Eric Gordon is just that much better when he starts, right? But with Josh Aogi tonight, the way he actually just handled himself in the first quarter with full court press, hitting the 2 threes in a row, like we mentioned with Eubanks, the way he played the second, where he just came out and just was rock solid, then we just need that from Aogi, right? 1 quarter, maybe. It doesn't have to be all game long. Maybe it's too much pressure we put on him. Goodwin, he fills in the spurts too. He fills in like the little holes that Aogi leaves behind that he just can't really pick up and carry all game long, and that's fine. I think that I don't look at Aogi's stat line as much. Defensively, you can just check it out by how he's actually guarding them full press, and if he's making them like just aggravated, bringing the ball up, if that's what he does, then that's fine. That's what you want.
Up, right?
Yeah, but I just think that with Aogi, there's so much responsibility for him, especially last year. Coming into the season, there was a lot. In the preseason, he looked great, right? Then you had all these injuries. You didn't have like the pillars of Booker, Beal, and Durant really there at the same time, obviously, to help him do his shit. Because he is just that guy. When you have all 3 of those guys playing healthy, he's that guy that is going to extend the leads, that are going to make the big plays. Because those other guys bring the ball up, they're going to be worried about Booker or Beal or Kevin Durant, right? I just think that they're going to be thinking about that, like, hey, we got to make sure this is a solid offensive possession. Otherwise, these guys are going to like score us out of the arena, right? They're going to outscore us right away in this quarter by 20 points or something like that. I think that's really something that goes on in their mind. Then when that's happening, then you have guys like Goodwin and Aogi that can come around and just fuck things up, right?
Yep.
Just like, we call Grayson Allen the fuck shit up guy, but Aogi will go in there, make those big steals, dunk on guys on the fast break. That's coming. I think it's really coming. To see his shot go in tonight was huge. I just don't think it's going to be a consistent thing. It's just you want good, solid minutes from him. That's it, and that's what he was tonight.
You want confident minutes. And that's what we got tonight from Josh Aogi, was confident minutes. I mean, you saw after he hit one of the threes, his reaction just in pure body language is one of unbelievable relief, because he's feeling it. 0 for 12 prior to that from beyond the arc. So having the ability to hit that is going to instill confidence in him, which translates to his defensive game. And that's what you bring him here for. Good, bad, or indifferent. Shit, I always say it. I said it again. Good, bad, or
We
indifferent.
love it.
Yeah.
Make a t-shirt, right?
We need to have a drop where it's just like good, bad, or indifferent. Like
Every time you say it, just
every
get
time I
a full
say
drop.
it's just instead, like when I say it, this is what goes on in my head.
Terrible. Take a lap. God awful. Get going. Terrible. Take a lap.
I take a mental lap, but good, bad, or indifferent, he is going to be somebody who needs to be a part of this lineup. What he brings, the intangibles that he brings, might not necessarily be somebody who is going to be in the starting lineup with regularity or even at all, but he is a valuable member of this team because he can play defense, because he can shut people down, or at least, as you mentioned, just be a disruptor. We just need some disruptors. Full court, 3/4 court press. I love seeing that stuff. We all do. I think that too many times we see opposing teams do it to the Suns, and we're like, why don't we do that? Why don't we just pick them up 3.5 court? Just make them work a little hard, tire them out a little bit. It's like a boxing match. You do it in the first quarter. You're not doing it in the first quarter to fuck them up. You're doing it in the first quarter so they're tied in the fourth and they lose their legs and all those jumpers come up a little bit short. And whose jumpers who have come up short in the fourth quarter? The Suns, because opposing teams are doing it to us. So seeing Aogi a little bit more engaged doing that, I really feel like this is we're on the right track. I know a lot of people are frustrated with Josh Aogi because of his shooting. And that, again, I know you guys don't like reading here, but I wrote a piece on Brightside about Josh Aogi. It's like, listen, he's had his woes, but ultimately he needs to be in the lineup, and we need to understand and respect that. So, anything else?
No, it's just the fact that it's like, when we're losing, we kind of look for a guy to blame, right? And
yes,
I think
always.
that it's kind of like the same thing the Lakers do with D'Lo, right? D'Lo puts up some good stats, but you just blame him for the loss anyways, right? Oh, he shot too much. He was actually 100% tonight, but it's his fault. Those should be LeBron's shots. We kind of do the same thing with Aogi. With some of these players we do. It's just they're limited in ways, right? They do the little things. They're like the minions around these other guys. And I'm looking forward to Aogi when these guys are healthy again.
And
That's
happy.
Aogi I love.
Healthy and healthy. Shout out to Sir Hamo in the chat. Again, one of our least jamsters. He says 3 members of the Aussie Suns fan podcast are here to celebrate. Yes, we have Boyd is in the chat, as is Gavin, as is Hamo. So everyone but Nate, because Nate never watches the show. Come on, Nate. Be better than that. I don't watch
the show either.
Yeah.
I never know when they're live. I never know if they're live or not. So,
but I do want to give a shout out to Gavin. Gavin was they have a segment on the Suns broadcast where they talk about international fans and where you're watching the game from. And Gavin's photo was shown in front of his green screen that looks like one of those things that you put in front of a sunshade that you put in your car. He's like a green sunshade. So shout out to Gavin for making his Phoenix Suns television debut tonight. You got to feel unbelievably special, and we're proud of you. I'm proud to call you a friend and a fellow podcaster. And clearly I'm stalling. Here we go. Yuta the Shooter! I don't want to spend too much time on Yuta Watanabe, but 1 of 6 from the field, 3 points because he made 1 3, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Bad defense. I know he's so bad a little bit, but it's when you watch it, it's not good, Matthew.
No, I don't know. So I said a couple podcasts ago, I just want to see what they do, or if they can just put Metsu in his place, just to see what it looks like. I know Metsu is listed as a power forward center. Just see what it looks like. We saw a little bit of Metsu tonight. Of course, he's playing against the second team, the bench guys. But I want to see him in that role because he can hit threes. He can go to the lane. He makes more sense offensively. Defensively, everyone's cooking Yuta, no matter who has the ball. And it's just like me playing defense. I'm sorry, Yuta. Like we love your corner threes and everything you bring to this team, the happiness you bring, the joy. But defensively, it's hard. Like a guy like what was it? Ant would just brick a shot, one possession. It doesn't matter who's guarding him, but then Yuta's guarding him, and he just throws up a jump shot, and nails it. It's just something with Yuta, and it's hard to watch sometimes. And I feel bad for the dude, but I'm just telling you, man, just throw Metsu in there and just see what it looks like.
There's been a lot of fluctuations in the rotations, and Yuta Watanabe's kind of this constant for Frank Vogel, and it must be due to his length and size and his ability to shoot the three ball. But 23 minutes again tonight, and as I mentioned, he was 1 of 6 from the field. He's 1 of 4 from downtown, so he's not adding a whole bunch to your offensive output. And defensively, he is a liability. He was attacked on multiple possessions. Every time they give up a couple points, we're like, well, yeah, that was on Yuta as well. So just don't want to spend too much time on it. But again, just to kind of, Saltiest Gaming says in the chat, he's a traffic cone and he's not hitting threes. Like
he's not. I mean, he has maybe. Ooh, you hear that? I don't know if you did hear that.
That's the bourbon. That was the bourbon.
Jinx, yeah, me a Coke.
Or your Coors Light.
He hits like 2 threes maybe once in every 5 games he'll do. So I'm just like, there has to be a replacement for him, even Nazi a little, just something, man, because he's just a 0 right now, man. It sucks. Maybe it's a KD thing. Maybe KD loves him that much that he needs to be on the court. But it's just that one player. It's like we're so close. Even when we're healthy, Yuta's still going to be out there. But maybe the way that Vogel's going to go about it is just like once Beal gets back and they get a few games there and Yuta's still playing, then they'll go from there and be like, okay, let's switch him out for someone else. It might take a few more games, but I don't think we'll be seeing him too much towards like the middle of the season. That's just my guess.
I can see rotations being switched up and Vogel trying some different things. If this continues, if this trend continues of him being just a 0 on offense and a traffic cone on defense. So
yeah.
Real quick, Boyd in the chat, Creepy Crawley says, you look fucked up, John. I'm tired. It's midnight here. It's been a long day. I get up at 6 a.m, so it's been a long day.
Nurkic watch.
So this is an interesting one when you look at the stat line because he only had 3 points. He's the only member of the starting lineup not to have double figures. He was 1 of 3. He only attempted 3 shots. His only made shot was a 3-pointer in this game. He had 5 total rebounds, 4 assists. So you look at the box score and you go, Yousef Nurkic had a bad game. Matthew, did Yousef Nurkic have a bad game?
I think he's still going to struggle, right? It's him just kind of blossoming in this offense and see how he can actually navigate things. That's the most interesting thing because Book comes back and what does he do? The time you're trying to go get a hot dog, but they close up the hot dog shop. You couldn't get a hot dog. He's out there with Booker. There's 1 turnover. It looks like a mess out there. They're yelling at each other a little bit back and forth, and it's fine because I feel like they can give it to Nurkic, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the court with Aiden back in the day when Aiden would fuck up, there wasn't too much yelling. There was kind of like, DA. This is more like, fucking, gotta go this way, go that way. And you know what? I think Nurk can deal with it. I think Nurk wants to win just as bad. He knows how fun this offense is going to be once he figures things out with these guys. But then sometimes when Nurk does have the ball and he's down in the post, he does look like Ayton sometimes where he just looks a little nervous. He looks a little intimidated, not from the defender, but just the fact that he's a little nervous to mess things up when Booker and KD are out there because they do get into it a little bit. That's in the back of his mind, I feel like, when he does handle the ball with those 2 guys. So I don't know if that's a real thing, but I do notice that. So I don't know if you guys notice that, Jamsters, John, if like you can just see like how he's just kind of like, oh, I can't fuck this up, right? I'm just going to get yelled at again if I don't hit this 3, right? You know what I mean? But then they go back down the court. They gave each other high fives, good play. I think he needs to be yelled at on the court because he can take it. And he's also a guy that's going to be not complaining a lot, but he can also just voice his opinion a lot, right? He's always on the sideline talking to Frank Vogel like, I'm not getting help on defense. You can just see like he's kind of frustrated defensively sometimes. He's getting left alone or whatever. But you kind of like the fact that these guys are still talking. And it doesn't seem like it's upsetting, but it's a weird vibe with Nurk. I just don't know what it is. I'm excited still. I think he's still a good starting position or starting center, but it's just a weird vibe right now. And I'm interested to see how long it takes for him to get more comfortable.
Yeah, it comes down to the word fit, right? Because ultimately, Nurk scored 3 points, played 24 minutes, and the Suns whooped some ass. That's the end goal. Like, we don't need Nurkic to be a guy who goes for 20 and 15. We're not paying him to be a guy who's 20 and 15. We need him to be a fit guy. And he fit tonight. He was passing out of a lot of things because he knew that he had the assets around him who could be productive, and he took advantage of that. On the body language side, there is some frustration because he's trying to understand what that fit is because he has been one constant in this lineup. It's like him and KD are the constants. Everything else from a starting 5 standpoint is constantly moving around them. Here comes Beal. There goes Beal. Hi, Booker. Oh, bye, Booker. Oh, welcome back, Booker. Aogi, KBD. Now it's Grayson Allen. Now it's Eric Gordon. I mean, there's a lot of inconsistency in the players that are playing around him. What I do appreciate about Nurkic tonight was the fact that he didn't put Rudy Gobert in a chokehold, but he did put him in a kind of a chokehold offensively. The guy scored 4 points, 2 of 5 from the field. He had 8 rebounds. This is one of the best defenders, from an advanced statistics standpoint, and respected multiple Defensive Player of the Year candidate and award winner in Rudy Gobert. And Nurkic's one job is, hey, just neutralize that guy. You neutralize it's when Rudy Gobert is that tertiary score for the Wolves that team gets really scary. Or just a tertiary, I wouldn't even say score, I'd say a tertiary impact guy. And he wasn't an impact guy at all tonight. And you can kind of thank Nurkic on that. So I know that we're not seeing great numbers from Nurkic, but we're still seeing production within the confines of what the starting offense is, knowing that starting offense continues to shift around him. So he is going to be confused at times. He is going to be getting yelled at, or at least have some body language that is not positive, because he's like, come on, like, I'm trying to understand where I'm supposed to be. I'm trying to be where I'm going to be. But like John Doe 69 in the chat says, 0 turnovers from Nurk is part of what we need from him. And that's what he gave to us tonight. 0 turnovers from Nurk.
Yeah,
that's what's killed us, is the 6 turnover games from Nurk. That's when we have issues. That's when we lose games.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like the post-game interview is kind of where he's just like, well, trying to figure things out. He's very blunt about everything. He'll let you know, kind of like Ayton, but in a kind of an opposite way where you kind of believe him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, Ayton would say shit, be like, oh, at least you're being honest. But I'm like, I don't believe Ayton. But Nurk is like, I'm like, damn, dude. Like, sometimes I feel like he's kind of not part of the whole Kevin Durant Booker team. You know what I mean? Like, true in a way. Yet it's a weird dynamic, man. But I think it'll be more positive in the future. I just think there's just something weird there. But whatever.
All right. We'll ping that. We'll put that on the radar over here. That's on Matthew's. Boom, boom. It's on your radar. Boom. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. Absolutely no warning, and then I just drop on you, and you have to be ready to change over.
Oh my gosh!
So it looks like the King was hanging out in Minnesota tonight, huh?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. Good friends with Prince, isn't he? Wasn't he friends with Prince?
I don't know. No,
Prince a little overrated. I think Prince a little overrated.
I agree with that. I'm not a Prince guy. Like,
I know, it's just I think he's a little overhyped.
If you got to pick between Prince and Michael Jackson, I pick Michael Jackson.
Oh, I pick 100
music only.
Yeah, I know he's gifted. Prince is gifted, but it's just like Taylor Swift. Like, there's just something missing there. Sorry, Justin.
Cool.
So sheesh, Book is cooking us. Yeah, damn right, dude.
Uh-huh.
Need Jaden on Booker. Doesn't matter, man.
So I don't think one thing that was that was one thing that was interesting that we noticed was in the first half, Jaden McDaniels was guarding KD, and you had Ant on Booker. And then at the beginning of the second half, they switched it defensively. And what did the Suns do? They just switched it. They would run a high screen with Booker and Durant, and they just, all right, put the guys right back on who they want. That's
exactly. And that's the next comment right here, man. One screen, and the Suns get whatever offense they want. Easy. Yeah, it is easy. The game was so much easier with Book. It's insane, dude. Awful game for McDaniels, getting cooked and can't make anything. Need Rudy to get hot from 3. I don't think that's very. I don't know. Just a goofball in there, No,
there's always those goofballs on the subreddits.
Do you think Booker travels? I don't ever see it travel. What's up with the compressed fake fan noise when we're on offense? Yeah, so the whole defense thing we were talking about. It drives me nuts. It hurts my ears.
Me too. It's really loud. Like defense, and every time they play it, they don't play it all the time, but whenever they what's the word to bring in the noise? I'm clearly tired.
Bring the noise.
No, they funnel in the noise. Anyways, whenever they just have it playing, defense over the loudspeakers, they always give up a fucking basket every fucking time.
It's confusing. I think the fans, it hurts their ears, and they don't want to shout defense.
Yeah, don't like it. Don't like it.
Bro, they can't miss. Forget this. They locked off. And that was the end of subreddit stakeout.
So not a lot of shit talking from the Minnesota Timberwolves fans, huh?
No, they're very nice up there.
It's because they know Prince. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. So obviously one thing that we haven't talked about tonight, but was a clear factor in the Phoenix Suns winning tonight, is they only had 9 turnovers. And this is a team in the Minnesota Timberwolves who are the best defensive team in the league, a team that forces turnovers, a team that is going to make you pay for those turnovers as well with the way that they score off of them. And the Phoenix Suns, again, they only had 9. And you take a look, this being the 11th game, at their total turnovers this entire season. And outside of the game in Philly, we only had 10. And then when we played Yuta Watanabe, Utah Jazz, we had 11. So this was the first time we've had single digits in turnovers. And that's what's so important for this team. The fourth quarter, Matthew, Phoenix Suns were outscored by 10, 33-23. We scored 35 points in the first, 41 in the second, 34 in the third, 23 in the fourth. Still got to do better in that fourth quarter, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's there, but I think it's kind of a mental thing, right? I think it's when you get into the situation where it's just kind of like, game 7s or closeout games now for the Suns in the playoffs. It's like, are we going to get blown out again by 30 points? That's the thing that's going to be in the back of their heads. Going in the fourth, it's like, you can't blow it. You want that 30-point lead, but still, even then, you're like, there's still a chance the Suns can give it up. I think they kind of got past that hurdle tonight for sure. So it definitely just, staying with Book as long as you could in the fourth quarter really helped. And that was the main difference, right? He cleared up all our issues tonight. It
was definitely a step in the right direction, and we needed it because it's been something that, the Suns are on the schneid, and it's like before this game, in the first 10 games, if the Suns had just played 3 quarters of every game, they would have been 7-3, but they were 4-6 because they've blown that many fourth quarters. And so to get off the schneid a little bit, again, being outscored by 10 points, you take a look at some of the shooting percentages, and in the fourth quarter, the Minnesota Timberwolves were 11 of 25 from the field for 44%, but the Suns shot 50% in that fourth quarter. That's big. Yeah. That's big. You got, before that, they were shooting like 36%. They were 28th in the league. Now, granted, they were 1 of 6 from the field, 16 points, from 3-point land, 16.7%. They didn't have, and it was due to turnovers. Of their 9 turnovers, 4 of them happened in that fourth quarter. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, like KD came in, 2 of them happened right off the bat. But as you mentioned, a step in the right direction, help you get off the schneid, gain some of that confidence. Be like, okay, that was a little blip on the radar at the beginning of the season. We'll be okay in fourth quarters moving forward because of Devin Booker. And again, that's a big thing. You got to have that guy play well for you in the fourth.
Isn't that crazy though? Like just how good he is, but then it kind of worries you too because he does have the injury issues as well. I think the thing is that we're worried about, and I think he even talked about pre-game interview at the shoot around. We talked about it's more of a fan thing to be worried about, and he said the season, it's a grind, but it's also very, very important to be, together and figure things out. But the thing is like we know how good we are with Booker. It's just the issue is just the injury thing that keeps lingering with him and Beal. But it's just like, damn, like if he just didn't have that problem like this, he would definitely be an MVP candidate this year.
And in time, we shall see if he does fall onto that list because of what this team is capable of doing, the level of play that he's playing at, the fact that he's in his prime, and the fact that in the 7 games he was out, the Phoenix Suns were clearly a different team. They clearly struggled. Yeah. And all those things are narratives, and narratives are what matter when it comes to the MVP conversation. Every big in the league at this point who is of worth has gotten theirs. Giannis has got his. Jokic has 2. Embiid got his last year. It might be part of the narrative this year might be, hey, the league needs to award a guard. When's the last time a guard won the MVP? It's probably been since Steph Curry. So that's something that might be, again, work in his favor, all those different factors coming together. We shall see. Time to hand out some hardware.
Jam star of the game.
All right. right, Jamsters, it's a reminder if you're watching along live, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. If you're watching later, do the same. If you're listening to the podcast, if you want to give us a sub and a review, go for it. If not, whatever. I don't care. I'm too tired. I'm trying to be quiet because like my entire family's asleep. Like I'm sure I sound a lot different on this. I'm like, hey, hi, how are you? I'm just like, hey guys, hey, the sun's won tonight. Oh my god, I'm so scared right now. I'm afraid to give away a jam star. Matthew, who are you giving them a jam star of the game to?
I want to give it to Booker. I think Booker is very important to this team, and he proved it tonight, right?
I think he is too. I'm a big fan of that Booker guy. Yeah, I'm giving it to Devin Booker. I think that having him back clearly changed the outcome of this game and the way that the whole team just looks, because for all the reasons mentioned before, how he's just the way he controls the offense, the way he controls how the spacing works and takes care of the ball. And he's not the greatest to take care of the ball. I understand that, but he did a great job taking care of the ball tonight, as did the Phoenix Suns. And that's why they won the game. Taking a look at what the Jamsters have to say. Blaze Megatron gives it to BDB, the Big Dick Booker. Eubanks second quarter is what Jack M gives it to. He says, when the game was there to be won, he showed up. Hunt Star 05. I mean, the obvious answer is Book, but Eubanks gets the Marley Hustle Award of the game. Agreed.
More than that, yeah.
Michael Kolb gives it to KD and Big Dick Booker, the best out there. Fuck yeah, baby. GOD3 BDB in the purple book ones. Yeah, those purple book ones look nice. Matthew, the whole time we're watching the game, I'm like, look at their shoes. Now look at their shoes.
Yeah,
look at their shoes.
The whole time he's like, hey, he changed his shoes. I'm like, I don't remember.
I look at the shoes, and I told you, like, I couldn't find a picture, but the shoes Harden was wearing last night against the Denver Nuggets, like, those look pretty fucking cool on the court. You got to find that. Okay. Eubanks, the Great White Shack from John Does 69, and Drew Eubanks from Elmer W. Kagape as well. I hope I said that last name right. So, all right. Next up for the Phoenix Suns, Bloom's hopping on a plane tomorrow at 2 to head up to Utah. We are playing the Utah Jazz Friday, 8 p.m. Arizona time, a little bit later because Utah is going to be an in-season tournament game for the Phoenix Suns. And we are just 0-1, right?
Yeah, just 0-1.
Just 0-1. So back-to-back games against Utah, the first coming on Friday, the second coming on Sunday. Thoughts on playing the Utah Jazz and who wins?
I think the Suns win. This is the in-season tournament. I'm actually kind of excited for the Suns to win one. I was thinking while we're watching today's game, like, kind of sucked just not to win the in-season tournament this year. I don't know why. I just want the Suns to try to go for it, right? But the thing is like, you have to focus on the injuries. So going into this game, who's going to be out? Who's going to be in? I told you too. I'm like, if Beal's back in this game, let's just say he is. I think KD sits out. I think KD takes a rest day because I think he kind of deserves it.
I think
we're not going to ever get the big
if he did, it would be Sunday. I think not this game.
Sunday? Okay.
Yeah, I would think so. I will say that I did pick the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this last game on the podcast you weren't on. And were you on the last podcast with me?
No.
I fucking remember.
I was at the game. I just said, hey.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it was me and Gav. Shout out to Gav. But I picked Minnie and I lost, so that doesn't help me. That's my third loss this season, which ties me with you. Yeah, the Suns win this game. I think we win both games up there in Utah. We've already beat them once, and it's a team that is in the process of just trying to understand who they are as well as rebuild. And I don't know if Utah's court will annoy us enough on TV. I'm interested to see what the Utah court looks like.
I think they're going to do more of a rendition of the 90s throwbacks because they have the throwback as like their city edition. So I think it's going to be more of that look. I don't think they can't do the highlighter. We wouldn't be able to watch.
Yeah, that highlighter yellow would just be so gross.
Way.
And yeah, it seems like all the teams are wearing city edition stuff when they have their in-season tournament courts. So we'll find out on Friday. So, Jamsters, we hope that you pop in and say hi to us after that. Again, thanks for joining us late if you're watching along live. But if you're watching a later time or listening, this is just normal content to you, except I'm a little bit more muted. I sound a lot more tired. I'm really hungry. I didn't get any hot dogs at halftime.
No, yeah.
I went to the Wetzel's pretzel line, and it was so fucking long. I was like, "Fuck me, man! I'm not gonna spend the entire third quarter for some Wetzel's pretzels because I have to type. I was typing for Bright Sides. It's like you can't do that with Wetzel pretzel thing. I had a lot of things going on.
Did you?
I did. So, on that note, Jamsters, thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Follow me at Darth Voida. Read my writing at Bright Side of the Sun. Bright Side of the Sun. We truly appreciate it. And shout out to John Bloom, who took some time after the game to hang out with a couple of podcasters over some good old-fashioned brown liquor and talk about Phoenix Suns basketball. That was really fun. So have a safe flight, sir. We'll be listening to you on Friday. Matthew, anything else before we get out?
Go home and love your family.